Awesome.
Can everybody hear me okay? Just want to test everything out this morning. So, can y'all believe that we are eating face to face? Hallelujah. We're making some changes, so that is great. So thank you for that. I want to welcome everyone this morning. And I'm Woody Jacobs. I'm the chairman here with the Board of the Chamber of Commerce here in Person County. And today's breakfast is being hosted by Piedmont Community College. So thank you for that. Appreciate everything that y'all do for not only putting the breakfast on, but everything that you do for our county. Educating our young people, educating our older people, educating our county. So thank you for that, what you bring to our county. So we thank you for that. We look forward to the message that we're going to share today. The message today, Dr. Senegal is going to present, and it's going to be about advanced technology. So we're looking forward to that. Technology is truly changing the face of the world that we live in today. So, and it means a lot to our community to have a community school that can do the things that we need for them to do. So the other thing is I want to invite Allison this morning. Before she comes up, I want to recognize some of our people here in our community that are very vital to our successes as we move forward. Dr. Senegal, we thank you for being here for us, but I'll introduce you again. Mayor Newell, thank you for being here. My good friend, Mr. Reggie Horton in the back. Gordon Powell, I'll call him. I want to thank you for being here. How many people are here that are part of Piedmont Community College? If you'll raise your hand. Thank y'all for being here and what you do for our community. And hey, Sherry, thank you for being here today. It's a lot of faces. Marley, for our tourism, I want to recognize you. New face in our community that's doing great things here, so we appreciate her. And a lot of friends that I see sitting around that I know from just days gone by. New faces, some people I want to meet and get to know better. So again, thank y'all for being here. Enjoyed this morning. Also, at this time I'll recognize Allison. She's going to give us a download of some of the things that's going on here in the chamber in Person County. So if I missed anybody, I apologize for that. Come up after the meeting, yank on me and tell me, okay? So, Allison.
Good morning, everybody. We are so happy to be here with you today with P.C.C. Great event and great time to be together. We are members of the Chamber Board. I'm Allison Satterfield. I'm the current Vice Chair. And we are filling in at our very first coffee hour in over a year without our Executive Director, who just had a baby last week. So, yes. If you haven't met Samantha Bagby yet, you will. She's doing a fantastic job for our chamber, and we've got a lot of exciting things coming up. So I just wanted to get some of that business out of the way so that you're aware of what's happening. Sam wanted us to mention that Personality Festival is back in a new way this year. We're looking at October 2nd is going to be Personality, so we're moving it back a little bit. It'll be a little less hot. And we're gonna have a great personality festival this year. So look for information about that coming out soon for sponsorships, vendor opportunities, and come join us for a great festival. Our golf tournament is also back, happening October 22nd. Bingo will be back in the fall, so look out for that. And if you have an opportunity that something that you'd like to share with the community, we'd love to have you do this and join us for a coffee hour. So please be in touch with the chamber while our director is out. We do have someone in the office, and so contact the chamber with any of your needs, and we will do our very best to fill in for the boss while she's away. So enjoy your breakfast this morning, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Allison, for mentioning all the things that I forgot to mention. So, Dr. Pamela Senegal. I've had the opportunity to sit in her office, it was probably 2019, and have face-to-face conversations with her. And she brings a level of excitement to our college that I am excited to see. And today I know she's going to talk about advanced technology, the things that we offer through advanced technology. But I'll tell you how technology is changing the face of the world that we live in. Business transformation is going on everywhere today in the world that we live in. The leading edge of business transformation is technology. And a lot of people will look at technology and say, well, technology is going to do away with our jobs. It's not going to do away with your jobs. It's going to save you money. When you can operate your business on less money because of the technology that you introduce into the workplace, it changes things tremendously. We're seeing time is so precious. So if it takes me 5 hours to do the work that I do today, but I can introduce a technology that allows me to get my time down to 1 hour, I'm doing more with less. Money is time, right? Time is money. So it's so important to realize how important technology is as we move forward in the society that we live in. So, Dr. Senegal, give us some good stuff today.
All right, I'm going to step over you, excuse me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. I am so happy to actually see your faces. We hired someone during COVID, and I realized today was the first time I've actually seen his entire face. It's pretty nice to actually see your entire face. So welcome back, everybody. What I'd like to do this morning is I want to talk to you about one of the things that P.C.C. is proposing as we turn 50 so that we are relevant for the next 50 years, right? We're one of the drivers of workforce development and thus a driver of economic development. And so as part of our strategy for how we remain relevant for the next 50 years, we've been talking internally about an advanced technology center. And now it's time for us to start talking as a community about what an advanced technology center means. But before I do that, I want to take you on just a quick trip down memory lane. So hopefully, if you'll take a look at the images that are on the screen. What's the first one there? A typewriter. How many of you all, by show of hands, how many of you all learned how to type on a machine like that? Actually, I didn't. I'm not. All right. What about that next one? What is the next one? What is that? It's a film projector, right? How many of you all showed movies at your house on things like that? What's that next one over there? I know it looks different than the one at my house because ours had aluminum foil on the rabbit ears in order to improve the conduction, right? What about these? What are those? Floppy disks, right? And then that's a harder one. Anybody recognize that last one that's over there?
Card catalog.
It's a card catalog. What do you for the young people here? Let's help them understand. What is a card catalog? What was it used for? What did we do with a card catalog? So you would go to the library and you would tell the librarian, I need a book on such and such, and they would walk you over to this physical thing, and then you would go to the right drawer, they would look through the files, they would pull the card out, and they would say, aha, here it is. And then you would take that and then go and find the book. So how would it make you feel if I told you that P.C.C. was still preparing people for medical office systems jobs using this? Would that scare you just a little bit? Or what about if I told you that we were preparing digital effects and animation students using that? What about if I told you we were preparing people to repair those kinds of televisions? What about if we were preparing the next round of information technology specialists using floppy disks? And what about for all of our students if we were still using a card catalog instead of a multitude of online databases that are electronically available no matter where they are, right? The reality is that times change, and as a result, the tools that you have to use to prepare people for those evolving times are represented here, and that's what the college has done. We have definitely made an evolution. And so what we're talking about today is the next evolution that's needed, not only for PCC, but for this entire community. And so essentially what I've got are 5 questions, and hopefully by the time that I've shared some of this deck of slides with you, you'll have a better understanding of what the answers are to these questions, right? So that first question is, let me go back. The first question is, does Person County need an advanced technology center? I want you to see that it's very intentional that I'm not saying, does PCC need an advanced technology center, right? Part of our responsibility is to make sure that we're preparing the region's workforce, right? This is not about PCC. This is about what's best for our community. We have a mega site. We have 2 power plants. We have all the right ingredients we are poised for wonderful economic development. But we got to make sure that our workforce is prepared, and this is one of the investments that we need as a community. So what we did in 2019 is a feasibility study, and as part of that feasibility study, we interviewed a number of companies. And so we asked them, what are your needs today? And we asked them to look into the future a bit and say, tell us, what are some of the needs that you're going to have in the future, right? The good news is that for the current needs, we're doing a pretty good job, right? We've got faculty members who are amazing. I've got a faculty member right now going for his national AWS credentialing so that we can actually do testing for national testing for welders here on site. We've got folks who are doing manufacturing skills certifications, all sorts of national credentials. So we're doing a good job right now. But as we look forward to what's the next evolution in advanced manufacturing and in technology, there's some gaps there in terms of what we're going to be able to provide that we need your help as a community to be able to do. So this is the evolution of industry, right? Old industry was all based on steam and water and brute force, right? People are working long days, they come home filthy and tired and broken because everything has to be done physically. As industry has evolved, we're using more physical systems. We're talking about the Internet of Things. We're using more networks. And eventually, all of our manufacturers will get to this, which is Industry 5.0, where we're using enhanced decision-making using artificial intelligence, right? So it's about working smarter. It's about being more productive, having technology enhance what human beings are able to do. And we've got to be positioned to be able to prepare the workforce in that way. So this is what one of our current labs looks like at PCC. Now, all of our labs don't look quite like this, but unfortunately, far too many of them look like this. Are you impressed? Here's another couple of shots from an existing lab. Are you blown away? Okay, I'm seeing horrified looks on people's faces, right? You don't seem like you're very impressed, right? The amazing thing is that we have such wonderful faculty that even despite this kind of equipment, we're still getting people nationally accredited. They're still earning their AWS credentials. Imagine what my faculty and students could do if we had up-to-date equipment and site and a location. As part of the feasibility study, we had a chance to go visit what some of our neighbors are doing. And so we went to Guilford Tech Community College and looked at their Center for Advanced Manufacturing. How does that grab you? Same kind of training, but in a different facility. Part of what we do when site consultants come to town and are talking about the workforce development, they often want to take a tour of training facilities. It's one thing for us to tell them that we have a prepared workforce, but it's a whole other thing for them to actually be able to see it. And so I want to go back. How impressed is a site selector going to be when I walk them through a lab that looks like this? As part of the feasibility study, we also had a chance to go to Alamance Community College. In Alamance, they've invested in an advanced applied technology center. Again, same kind of training, but it looks completely different. The machinery is up to date. The space is clean. We're teaching people how to integrate that work with technology so that they are better prepared to go directly into the workforce. The other thing I did, and this wasn't part of the feasibility study, but I just did a screenshot of a couple of announcements that have happened in that High Point Greensboro area where those two centers are. And I'm not saying there's a direct correlation, but there is some connection here between a prepared workforce and some of the announcements. Everything from Fiesta, they've had a coffee manufacturer, they've had about 4 different announcements over the last 6 months that have brought new high-tech jobs to their region. I think there is some connection to the fact that they've made these investments in these workforce training centers, and they're able to show and tell the story of how they have a prepared workforce. Before I came here, my job was Vice President of Economic Development at Central Carolina Community College. And many of you all, if you're in economic development, you may be following the transition, sort of the story of Lee County and how they are just hitting win after win after win. They probably had 3 announcements over the last 120 days. But part of it has to do with the investment that was made nearly a decade ago. So while I was at Central Carolina Community College, which is located in Sanford, they invested in something called an innovation center. Inside the innovation center was an entire manufacturing line from start to finish. They regularly brought in groups of 17 to 20 employees to teach them how to work together using Lean Six Sigma principles on that manufacturing line. Now they're doubling down and making another investment. They're moving away from this innovation center and they're buying a former manufacturing site that's contiguous to the campus, the old Magneti Morelli building. And as a result, they're continuing to get win after win after win. But these were investments that were made by the community, not only in their workforce, but in the entire pipeline. And these are just a couple, again, of some of the headlines of wins that Lee County has been able to bring into their community. Is there a direct correlation between the workforce preparation and these wins? They would say yes, there is. There's a direct correlation. This wasn't the only investment they made. They also made an investment in funding their economic development activities. They also made an investment and became a promise, one of the early areas that had free college tuition to community colleges. These were all part of the pipeline of investments that that community made almost a decade ago, and now we see it starting to pay off. We also talked to some of our local manufacturers, and we talked to Meredith, and one of the things that she reminded us of why it's so important to have a prepared advanced manufacturing group of workers is because having folks on day one who are prepared with the right experience, it's just invaluable. When they come to the table, when they come and interview for a job at Hollywood and they already are equipped with the right skills and knowledge, it saves that company time and money. That's what a trained workforce means. It means that companies, instead of spending money retraining people to be able to do the jobs, they can instead use that money, invest it in their company, and grow their organization, and eventually hire more people and raise wages. That's the impact of this. We also talked to Sherry Wilburn, our economic developer, about what's the connection between workforce development and economic development. And it's a great quote, and we'll share this presentation with you at a later time. But I want you to, there are 2 things that I would share with you about this quote. One is about how important it is, as she's talking with site selectors, to know that businesses are going to have a prepared workforce on day one. Not a year from now, not 2 years from now, but on the day they open their doors, that they are going to have the workforce needed to be able to operate their business and be successful. The other thing is that very last sentence that's there, that having a prepared workforce, signaling to the site consultants and economic developers for the area that we are committed to workforce development, becomes a momentum builder. And that's what we want to have. We've already got the mega site, we have the power plants, we've got other sites, we have so many things going right for us. This is the last piece of the puzzle. So you might ask yourself, so what are some of the other things that P.C.C. is doing to prepare the workforce? We are doing our absolute best. The commissioners a few years ago were kind enough to fund a partnership that we have between the public schools and the college. It's that P.C.C. initiative where we've realigned our programs around 5 discipline areas The same thing is being done in the public schools. Do you realize that pre-COVID, every 6th grader took a career exploration class that's linked to the 5 economic development focus areas for our community? And then those same 5 areas, they can then transition into P.C.C. So we're not just investing in our college, but we're investing in the entire pipeline to make sure that there's the right workforce for economic development purposes. The other thing that we've done is we've added work-based learning. So how many of you all, so by show of hands, how many of you all worked when you were in middle school? How many of you all had a job that paid in middle school? Anybody have a job that paid in middle school? All right, what about, well, I worked for my family business, so we actually, I don't know that we were ever, but I was allowed to continue to eat and live in my home, so. All right, what about high school? What about high school? Did people work in high school? So here's the thing. People learn how to work by working, right? We lament some of the loss of soft skills among young people, but what we've learned is that if we give them the opportunity to intern, or what we call work-based learning, right? It's also called co-op, but by formally building work-based learning experiences into our degree programs, we're insisting that students put those things together. So they're learning the technical skills and the soft skills. This is one of the other investments that we've made. We're also doing additional things with focused marketing, professional development. I talked about the 6th grade. We also have a boost program for entrepreneurs who are interested, and so we can match those dollars with a tranche of funds that we receive from Wells Fargo. Talk to Scott Keene, he's in the back, he's our Small Business Center Director. He can tell you more about that. And then we continue to work on customized industry projects. In addition to that, we work with our Workforce Development Board, and we have an advanced manufacturing career pathway. Right, I'm just trying to stop it from, all right, there we go. We're also working with a group called CineWorks. So one of the target areas that we are focusing on for our mega site is something in the semiconductor, industry. And so there's an organization that overarches that. And so they are analyzing our programs and making those available through their portal, right? So we'll be part of that. We also have scholarship dollars, right? So it's something called PACE or Promise Scholarship. So anyone who wants to pursue any of these Associate of Applied Science degrees, we have scholarship dollars that will enable them to complete that degree with 0 debt. We've also participated in Next Gen Sector Regional Partnership, and we pursued some partnerships with our neighbors over in Virginia that did not work out, but I just wanted you to know that we are trying everything possible to make sure that this region's workforce is prepared. And that's a nice screenshot. Again, you'll see this later, but that just gives you an indicator of all the different programs that we have that are related to advanced manufacturing. Right? So what do we need? Here's the investment. The feasibility study was designed to figure out, should we do new construction? Should we renovate the existing spaces? What should we do? And so what that feasibility study figured out is that by the time we moved everything out of our welding labs, reset the welding labs up somewhere else, then went back and renovated that space, then moved everything back in, by the time we'd spent that amount of funds, we would have the same amount invested, but at the end of it, we would have a new building, right? And so the conclusion that that feasibility study came to was that it was a smarter, more efficient use of our dollars to either go for new construction or to identify a building that could be renovated. The other recommendation that they made was to not put it on P.C.C.'s lovely campus that's set in the woods, around the bend, behind the corner. They suggested putting it somewhere on 501 so that it would be visible and it would be more easily accessible to other manufacturers. Right? So those are some of the key findings from that feasibility study. At the time when the study was done, which was in 2019, it was estimated that the building footprint would be somewhere between 21 and 28 million. Right? But what do we know has happened to construction costs since 2019? They've gone up just a skosh, right? So typically, as I'm talking about this project, we're going ahead and calling this a $30 million project overall. Right? The other opportunity that's emerged just in the last few weeks is that there's a potential for us to receive a donated existing space that actually has a larger square footage than we'd originally estimated for, which would give us additional square footage where we could actually have a manufacturing incubator, right? So the idea is if any of our local companies want to spin something off, then they could spin that off in that space, use it for that time, and then when they're done, it's available for the next group. The other opportunity that this represents is one for our students who could intern with those manufacturers, get in on the ground floor, and learn about how a manufacturing business grows from the start to the finish. What an opportunity that could be for us. We'll have more in the next few weeks. I've got a next slide talking a little bit about timelines. So what are some of the options? The other thing that we've been doing, in addition to making sure that our training programs, we've also been trying to find the money to make this happen so that we're not all having to come out of our pockets as much. And let me just say this, I live here, I pay taxes here too, so I'm not real interested in having a huge price tag of something. So here's what we've been doing to try and lower the capital cost for this request, for this need for our community. We've been working with our legislative delegation, and we've got a commitment of $10 million towards this project already. Right? So we just haven't been sitting around with our feet up eating bonbons, right? I promise you, we've been trying to work this out. The next thing we've been doing, and there's also a capital projects bill that was just submitted sometime early May. It made the crossover date, and so we are also hopeful that that will potentially provide funding for this project as well. We won't know about that until the legislature concludes their business. Second thing we've been doing is reaching out to the Department of Commerce, particularly if the donated site comes to us. What we've learned from Commerce is that there are a number of funds that this project fits nicely into, and we think that the project, based on our conversations with Commerce, that this would be a great candidate for some of their funding options that they have available. The other thing that we've been doing is, for over a year now, we've been having conversations with EDA, right? And so we've also pitched this idea to EDA, and they like this project as well. They're very interested in it. And what we like about EDA funding is that it will help with bricks and mortar, it will help with renovations. Many grants, you can only use the funds in very particular ways, and what we like about EDA funds is that they can be used for brick and mortar, right? And so EDA stands for
Economic Development Administration.
Economic Development Administration. Thank you. Right. Thank you for not letting me speak educationese. Right. So we've talked with EDA several times, and when I say we, Sherry Wilburn and I have been working together on this because again, this isn't something that's just for PCC. This is something that's for the community. So that's the we, not myself and my other split personality. It's that's who I've actually been talking about. All right. So what we like about EDA funds, average awards between $500 to $2 million. They have another tranche of funds that are coming as part of the American Rescue Act, and so we'll learn more. But what we do know is that we've made them aware of this project. They're giving us advice about how to position it, what words to use, and so we're very optimistic that this will be another source of funds for this project, which would reduce the overall cost to the community for the capital investment that would be required for this project. Right? And then, of course, there are other funders. There are going to be some local funds that are required, but we're doing everything possible to minimize that impact on the community. So what are some of the options? What we're asking for, there are two things that have to happen. One, we need this added to the Person County capital plan for the next 5 years. None of this moves forward unless it's on the capital plan for the county. What we're requesting is, in the first year, we're asking for $500,000, and the idea there is that we'll use that for a combination of either land acquisition and permitting that might be required. Even with a donated facility, there'll be some cost that we'll have to incur. But the second thing that will enable us to do is that we'll be able to go ahead and get design, engineering, and all of those plans ready so that we can go ahead and bid this project out before construction costs go any higher, right? In terms of timeline, if we are able to get the renovated property, we could very likely open it as soon as fall of '23. If we have to do construction brand new, we will likely not be able to begin until fall of 2024. But none of that happens unless this project is on the Person County capital plan, and right now it's not there. Hopefully we have a shared commitment Again, this isn't a P.C.C. project, this is something for our entire community. Person County Commissioners in 2019 actually approved funding for a feasibility study to figure out this so that we could have some better insight and direction about how to move forward. In addition to that, the EDC, Person EDC in their strategic plan for 2019 listed education and workforce development as their top priority. And we're actively engaging others in raising money for this project to reduce the overall capital cost to our community. And so we need a commitment is what we're asking for. There's going to be an opportunity on Monday, June the 7th at 7 p.m. There's a budget hearing where they're going to hear from the community. And so we would encourage you to join us in speaking out and supporting this addition to the capital plan for the community. All right? So back to my original set of questions. Does Person County need an advanced technology center?
Yeah.
I think the answer is yes. What's P.C.C. doing to prepare the workforce? A lot. And we're going to continue to evolve, but we need your help. We need your help to get over to that next level that's required. What's the total investment needed? 21 to 28 million. We may as well go ahead and round it up, knowing what construction costs are, to around $6 million, or to around $30 million. What are the options available to fund it? There's a summary of all the things, all the sources that we're pursuing to try and get funding for this. And now I'll stop there. And what questions do you have about this project? I don't want you to leave here until you have a good understanding of what this project is. What questions do you have? Was that under my time? Or am I asking? I'm very patient. I have 3 seconds. And I'm a scout leader. I can stand quietly all day. Any questions? Yeah.
Okay, Senator, I can't help but think with a project this large, you've got to have some sort of a timeline for when you think a $21 to $28 million facility needs to be started. In other words, a little brick and mortar work started. Any idea, projecting into the future, what you think the time frame might be?
Yeah. So, and I have, it's not in this presentation, but the overall timeline, so typically it's going to be 6 to 8 months for planning. So that would put us probably first quarter of 2022 to hopefully actually begin the construction. And then depending on, again, whether it's renovation or new, that renovation work hopefully will take somewhere between 8 and 10 months. If it's new, construction is likely going to take anywhere between 12 and 18 months, depending on our ability to get supplies. I've told Danny Talbert, I don't know if y'all have driven by there, but it seems like that's where all the lumber is. So I've been telling him we might have a project. Hold that lumber. Don't sell all the lumber to other people. So, and I'm dreaming, right? Because that's pretty much what he told me. But it all depends on, if this isn't included on the upcoming capital plan, then that delays our ability to move this forward by an entire another year. That means those dates get pushed out a year. And can we afford to wait till 2025 to be able to tell people that we have advanced technology center?
What is the capacity, how many students would we be looking at going through that?
So with either the renovated space, so the question is, what's the capacity in terms of the number of students? It would triple our capacity. We've got 2 classrooms right now, for example, where we're doing electrical power production and doing certified logistics technician, and each of those classrooms can only hold about 9 to 12 students. That's it. That's what we have right now. Right. This would triple our square footage so that we would be able to scale up and in a more reasonable fashion help prepare the workforce.
I would also add welding. We're limited on welding, and even the high school you know, there's years where they have more students than we do.
So this is Dr. Buchanan, she's our chief academic officer, and her other point was, even in our welding space, and we're running morning, afternoon, evening sections of welding. I mean, we're constantly using our welding facility, and interest in welding exceeds our capacity, right? That's not the place we want to be. The good news for us is that we can send some of those students to Caswell. We have a partnership with the high school there where we run a welding class. But again, because it's located in a high school, we have some limitations on how frequently we can use it, and that space is also limited. I think the capacity for that one's also around 10 students. So we have some significant capacity issues right now. And students just don't seem interested in taking the classes from midnight till 5 a.m. I don't know what the problem is. We could add another section.
And it's also going to open up space on campus to extend our healthcare programs.
This is Elisa Montgomery, who of course is my Dean of Health Sciences Program. She's most excited about this because what it will also have the effect of doing is opening up some space on campus where we could do a better job of serving our health programs, which also have limited capacity. We've just gotten approval from Board of Nursing to increase the number of associate degree nursing students that we can have on our campus here in person. And then we've also received approval to have another section of ADN. So again, we're trying to keep evolving and meeting some of these other needs, but we need to open up some other spaces so that we can now meet this other emerging need in healthcare. But thank you, Elisa, for not letting me ever forget what will happen with that space. Thank you.
Dr. Senegal, so what, do you have a perceived location on 501?
I do. So the feasibility study identified 7 sites. We purposely pulled those sites out of the report that was shared publicly because we prefer those people to not, what is the word? Increase the price inappropriately. And so we're keeping it fairly quiet. But yes, we've identified several locations.
Because my reason for the question is our high school students being transported. You know, the proximity of the campus right now is excellent for us, so that would be a concern.
But I believe, so Judy's point is that right now, a lot of students are able to get from Person High School to the main campus pretty easily. I think it's worth the investment to have better facilities, even if we're having to transport them an additional 2 or 3 miles. And that's essentially what we're talking about. We're not talking about a half hour away. And if any of you all have property you'd like to donate off of 501, please see me afterwards, or stop by my office. You know where to find me, right? Or if you'd just like to make a donation in general to the college, glad to talk to you.
I think it's also fair to share that the way, you know, a lot of students and parents, when they look at our facilities and they come in and they see a facility that looks like what she's showing you, it makes them hesitate to think, oh, I do want to go into welding, or I do want to go into manufacturing. Now, if they walk into GKN and they see what that factory floor looks like, it doesn't look like our facility. So you think about a mechanic who thinks it's going to be grungy and greasy, but they go to a little mechanic shop, a top mechanic shop. It's not like that. That's not what these careers are like anymore because of technology and the equipment that's being used. It's a different world. But we're still showing the world of 25 or 30 years ago. And that also makes a difference when students are choosing their career and parents are feeling good about what they encourage their students to do, you know? So I think that's also something to really keep in mind when we're talking about this being a regional thing. When Judy's students, you know, are coming over from the high school, and I say Judy because she's such a tight liaison with us, helping to guide the CCP students. But it does make a difference when you have a mama bear come up there and they're taking their kid down and they want to tour the welding facilities. Like that, they think, I don't know, I really want my kid to do that. He wants to do it, but do I really want him to do it? So I think that is really something else to keep in mind. we have a workforce need for more people to be in those programs, but we need to be showing them the reality of what it looks like in the real workforce, and it doesn't look like what we're training.
So just in case you couldn't hear, I'll summarize what Dr. Buchanan's point was. How things look matters. It shouldn't. We should all look and judge people by their hearts, right? That's not how it works. When site selectors come to town and we have to tour them versus touring them there. We've got to make a decision as a community what we want to be and how we want to grow. And we think this is an appropriate investment. Thank you all for letting me, if you have other questions, I'll hang around afterwards. Thank you so much for letting me share this priority and this project with you all. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Senegal. So, reflecting on what she said, I've got two words that I really picked up on her presentation. First word is momentum. The next word is commitment. I think about the days when I was growing up on the farm and we were baling hay. And you would engage the hay baler. And it was this big flywheel on the side of the hay baler. And once you ever got that thing in motion, in momentum, it would build momentum. And it would get faster and faster and faster, and it was weighted. And once you got it up to speed, and that haymaker started making hay, you saw that momentum. The commitment is those small things on the outside of that flywheel that make that flywheel turn. And that commitment is like our EDC, our commissioners, our small businesses, our college, because we're talking about Person County, what Person County needs. And once we can build momentum because of the commitment that we put together as a county, it's unstoppable. We can change the face of what Person County is by people getting together, being committed to build the momentum we need. I think about sustainability. If we sustain, that's a good word. A lot of people like that word, but I think about stagnation when I hear sustainability. I think we need to be a circular process where we're regenerative and we're continuing to add back into our community by the things that we put into it to build that momentum. Dr. Senegal, thank you. It's powerful. Person County, we do have great opportunity here in Person County. We've got a great college that can educate our young people, our older people, and move us forward. So thank you today for what you presented to us. Thank you for your time commitment today to come out and be part of this first 2021 coffee hour and spend some time face-to-face with each other. So thank you for your time today. We appreciate you coming and look forward to what we're doing next time. So thank you for coming.